Well, good afternoon, Lee.
Good afternoon, Cheri.
I am so excited to have you here to tell us about your Phoenix Rising project.
Yeah.
Why are you so excited about this?
I'm just so passionate about it. You've seen my dog Shadow here, and Shadow has absolutely saved my life more than once. There were a couple of times where literally his presence saved me. Um, and I don't know how much longer we'll have him because he's got cancer. And so I have my new little Phoenix who I'm training to be Shadow's successor. And hope is that Phoenix will fill those giant shoes. And the cost for doing this is, as I've mentioned, is outrageous. Service dogs cost so much money. And so doing a fundraiser and then having you give me the idea of this anthology, um, stories of service dogs saving lives. How cool. And my vision has just expanded over the past couple of months. I'm super excited about all the things that are going on. But, not only has Shadow saved me, but I was thinking about my son, who he was on mental health disability for a couple of years. He's been suicidal a few times and in the hospital. And he got a service dog, Nellie. And Nellie is a yellow golden retriever, so a lighter color golden retriever, and they are best friends. And James has had Nellie for about 4 years now. And same thing, he's had a hard time, but he has not been suicidal. Nellie has saved his life. And so the more I think about the anthology and what else we can do and looking for donations from here and there and connecting with other organizations, I really have a vision now, a mission to get service dogs into the homes of other people with PTSD or mental health disabilities and save their lives. And I don't want money to be a roadblock for someone to have this incredible gift. Right?
And it so much is because of the prohibitive nature of the training.
That's right.
So, uh, since we talked about using a book of stories of service dogs and how they've saved lives, your vision has grown much bigger. You're now contemplating a nonprofit organization, uh,
Yeah.
which will allow you to raise funds with grants and
Yes.
put these animals into the homes of people who desperately need
Right.
the support. Now, tell me a little bit more about Phoenix, because I know he has saved not only your life, but he has provided comfort to first responders, people
Oh,
on their
yes.
deathbeds, and others. Tell me about all
Yeah.
the things that a service dog can do.
So that's Shadow. And so Shadow is a
I
little bit
say,
different.
yeah,
You said Phoenix, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
Um, I was in training with Phoenix today and I kept calling him Shadow. So even I do it. Shadow is a little bit unique, and as will Phoenix be. Um, I have Shadow for PTSD, and for the first few years when I couldn't work, that's all he did. Now that I'm much better, um, he does the service tasks, things like alerting me when I'm getting anxious, because we've trained him to recognize my signals. So he'll alert me before it turns into a debilitating panic attack. He'll also wake me from night terrors.
Oh,
Um, Rick is happy about that. Get some more sleep, right? um, I don't have the night terrors as frequently. I don't show the signs of anxiety as frequently. So he isn't 24/7 being my service dog. So he was able to train actually both of us trained together to become critical incident stress management canine team.
Oh,
So when he's not needing to be 100% focused on me, we're able to go do this work, which is in service of our first responders. So think of a comfort dog, or a therapy dog, a dog who goes and visits people in the hospital.
mhm.
Shadow does that, but limited to first responders. Most of the time it's in, not on scene, but it can be on the scene of a traumatic incident. And so for that, he has had even more training. It's very, very specified so that he can be in the midst of that chaos, a fire blazing around him, all the men and women, first responders running here, there, and everywhere, the shouting, the screaming, the sirens, and everything else, and still remain calm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, as I recall, you and Shadow were requested to come to the scene of that condo collapse in Florida a few years ago. How traumatic was that for the first responders?
For the first responders, it's hard to put words into that. And we saw the first responders not on scene when they were doing their search and rescue in all the rubble, but right outside our hotel was a coffee shop that was like the coffee shop to go to. And first responders were in and out of there all the time. And there were lots of times when Shadow and I would just be sitting having a coffee and they'd come over and pat him. And you can almost watch the tension in the scowl face just wash away when they came over and patted Shadow and played with him. Even getting down on the ground and letting Shadow sit in their lap and be silly.
And
And
gave them a little respite before they went back to the traumatic scene.
right.
That's wonderful.
And another thing Shadow did, which really brought home to me their sense of intuition. They're just knowing, right?
Mhm.
So we were deployed as part of National Crisis Response, was the training organization. So they're the ones who deployed us. And we were there as well to support the victims and families.
Oh, yes.
And on our last day there, I was there right near the end of when they were there with the folks. So the week I was there overlapped the search and rescue, which is when they're looking for living folks, to
Mhm.
the search and recover, which when
Oh,
they make that transition, that's a statement that they don't expect to find anyone alive. That announcement was made to all these people on Wednesday evening. So by Friday, which was my last day there, many of the people had left. Very Orthodox Jewish community there, and I probably couldn't put it in correct words, but their tradition, their faith, once they got that word that there was no hope, then they were able to leave and go and grieve their loved ones.
mhm.
On Friday, there weren't too many people. We were done. It was our last time there. I was walking from the front, so there were a couple of hotels there that housed all these folks, and one of the hotels opened all their rooms, like conference rooms, ballrooms, whatever, for these folks. I was walking from the front of the room to the back, and Shadow just pulled me like, whoa, okay. And he went right over to a woman who was sitting in her chair, just curled up, laid across her feet, and wouldn't move.
Oh,
So I just said to her, I said, is this okay? He's here to comfort you. And she barely nodded her head. And it took about half an hour, but she went from that curled up, eyes closed, just a ball of tension and grief, to she reached down and touched his head. and then she patted him a little, and then she patted his whole back, and eventually she came to where she was sitting up.
Amazing.
Gets me every time I tell this story. She turned and she just said, "Thank you." And I said, "You're welcome. And if you want to talk about it, I'm happy to listen."
And you have special training for that as well.
She shared her story. She told me this was the first time she was able to tell anyone. Her and her husband lived there, and their only child, and I think it was the daughter and son-in-law and grandchildren were visiting. And this woman had left, and the condo collapsed, and she lost all of her family.
Oh, that's awful.
And because Shadow went and did what he did, she was able to finally put it into words.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you and me both. Oh,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
And I just, we were leaving. He knew we were leaving. He was tired. He was kind of done, but he knew he had to go over there and he would not budge.
What a remarkable companion he is for you, and what a remarkable resource he is for others in those situations. And now he himself is in his last few months. Is he still able to do his service dog things for you? No,
A little bit, not
he's
much.
tired.
He's retired officially, which means he doesn't have to work anymore. And the work is the catching things. He will sometimes, but I question if the chemo that he had kind of altered his abilities, because a lot of his skills and such aren't on par as to what they were.
Well, he deserves a rest and to be loved for the rest of his life.
Right.
And how does he get along with his successor, Phoenix?
They get along great. It was funny when Phoenix first came home as an 8-week-old puppy, and Shadow, who was used to having the house all to himself and it being quiet, he would look at Phoenix and look at me almost to say, "What is this thing you have brought into my house?"
What were you thinking, Mom?
Right? Yeah. But that only lasted about a week. And now they play. Shadow knows that he can go into his bedroom or into his bed in our bedroom to get away from him. But yeah, they're good.
That's good.
Yeah.
And Shadow is now in training. I'm sorry, I did it again. Phoenix is now in training.
Yeah. Phoenix has been in training since I picked him up. And we're working with a couple of trainers, one who works specifically to train service dog tasks, and another one who works with general puppy training and such. And they both train me to train Phoenix. So
Okay.
there are a couple ways you can get a service dog. You can get one fully trained, and the dog comes to you at 2, 3, 4 years old, all trained. And that, when I got Shadow, I looked locally, there's an organization called Needs, and they were $45,000. And that's what, 5, 6 years ago? Yeah. Yeah. So when you do it yourself, it's still mighty expensive, but I don't pay a lump sum. It's spread out. I pay for each glob of training at a time. So that makes it easier. And there is some savings.
Yeah.
And
So by glob, you mean a package of sessions?
Yeah.
2 or 3 sessions at a time. Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. So what is your dream for the project?
It started out, so Phoenix's name is Phoenix Rising, rising from the ashes. So I rose from the ashes, James rose from the ashes. Phoenix is rising from the ashes of shadows, poor health, and soon death, much sooner than we expected. So the working title for the anthology, Phoenix Rising, Stories of Service Dogs Saving Lives.
Wonderful.
And I love the Phoenix Rising, and as time goes on, I'm sure we'll flesh out if that's the right subtitle or whatever. But then looking at the potential NPO, will be the same thing, just take off stories of. So
Okay.
the name of the organization would be Phoenix Rising, Service Dogs Saving Lives.
And the mission of the organization is to provide service dogs for those who cannot afford to purchase them for themselves.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I don't see me being a trainer or breeder or anything like that, but having the connections with high quality breeders, high quality trainers. And so my two trainers, for example, the fundraising that I do, I would pay for the puppy from the breeder, pay for the training and all of that to get that service dog ready for the handler.
All right. And what do you need to get it off the ground?
Oh, lots of support. So the first piece is the anthology, and what a gift to have had you suggest that and to have you working with me. Folks, Cheri is absolutely amazing in the work that she does. You can see here in her conversation with me how compassionate and caring she is, but also super intelligent, and she knows her stuff. So with Cheri, I'm doing this
Making me blush.
doing this anthology, which my goal for that will be 10 to 20 authors who have a story of their service dogs having saved their life. Those are somewhat easy to find, but because it's all based around being a fundraiser, traditionally, Cheri's way of working is having entrepreneurs write their story and pay for their story to be in the book. So I have the authors and can get more, but I need sponsors for the authors to be in the book. So sponsors, anyone or any organization who has passion, interest, wants to help get service dogs into the hands of folks who need them, to sponsor a chapter. And those people will get either half a page or a page in the book that they can give their giveaway, build their email list, or, be their marketing piece in the book and get acknowledgement for supporting the mission.
Right. So it's a win all around.
It's a win all around. Yes. Yes.
Well, I hope this short interview is a way to bring interest to that project. And if you would like to sponsor a chapter or have an advertisement in the book, we're flexible. And Lee, tell folks how they can reach you with interest in this project.
Yes. Best way is to email me at lee@coachrev.com, LEE at coach, like a life coach, Rev short for Reverend, REV.com, or even give me a phone call, 508-308-7116.
I don't know if you want to put that out publicly. You might want to edit this part out.
I have it out there publicly already anyways.
Oh, wow. You are amazing and brave. But Is there anything else you would like to say before we sign off?
Oh, so sponsoring a chapter isn't the only way folks can help. If you know someone who has a service dog, or if you know an organization who would want to sponsor a chapter, um, if you know a lawyer who works with nonprofit organizations who would be willing to donate some time or their wisdom, there are lots of ways that folks can support this mission. So
All right.